So for this next project, this is going to be one of the more creative projects that you're going to have to um, figure out creatively how to do. We are not emailing this to me. This one in particular, you're going to actually submit on our Facebook group. So what I want to talk about is the most fundamental element of design as a graphic designer is you're going to have to create some kind of logo. A logo is a corporate identity, this identity to a particular client's business. How are they going to sell themselves? What kind of identity are they going to have? So in this particular project, what we have is like develop 3 visual identities for the used book cafe. So you're going to create 3 different logo things. And here it's like, I'm going to show you some elements, and when I have on here use the random word technique, we haven't talked about that. All right, so I'm going to talk about that later on, but just not today. So think beyond normal parameters, pull a new association into what this visual identity could be. The final design must include the name, if only in supportive role to the mark. Use no more than 2 colors. Present your final logo centered on an 8.5 by 11 horizontal in two sizes. So what we're going to talk about here is I'm gonna bring up something just to kind of like help you along to figure out what we're going to do with this. All right. So what we're going to talk about is logo design principles. This is kind of like a starter portion of your particular project. Okay, logo design principles. We're going to talk about the types of logos that there are. There are pictorial and abstract symbols. This type of mark represents the company in a simple but bold manner, most often represented through an abstract design. Usually the ideas and concept behind the logo are complex, yet are represented in the simplest form possible. So if we look at some of these, they're abstract symbols. They're, you notice the Nike symbol, you see BP, you see Adidas, Apple, the World Wildlife Fund, and Penguin Books. They have a word mark. This logo type is a uniquely stated font type that spells out the company or brand name. Technology companies usually use this type of logo as stylized text, looks best on electronics, and expresses the sophistication of a company. So like you're going to see that there's Coca-Cola, Sony, FedEx, Braun, Disney, all use what are called word marks, where there's no symbol per se, there's no picture, it's just wording, the letters done in a certain way. That is called a word mark. There are letter marks. This type of logo is exclusively typographic. The letter mark uses the company name written out, yet has a symbol representing the company through the use of its initials or the brand's first letter. So you see there's GE and Quiznos and Hewlett-Packard and McDonald's and Calvin Klein. So those use these initials or a particular letter from the name of the company. There's combination marks, which are the type of logo is a combination of a symbol and a word mark. The purpose of the combination mark is to create an identity that embodies a given company through the use of a symbol and type treatment. So we look at these, you got most of these logos have like a symbol to them, but also include the name of the company. So like Adidas has the three lines there. You have that, or Audi, or Puma, or Chase, or World Wildlife Fund, or Playboy. But all of these encompass what we call an anatomy of a logo. The logos can be broken up into 3 simple areas: the mark, the logo type, and together all of those make up a signature. So we're going to go through some of the rules of designing logos here. We're going to talk about the preliminary work is a must. Preliminary sketches are an important first step in designing an effective logo. You create balance. Balance is important in logo design because our minds naturally perceive a balanced design as being pleasing and appealing. Size matters. When it comes to logo design, size does matter. A logo has to look good and be legible at all sizes. It can go to the size of a ballpoint pen, but yet can go as big as the side of an Empire State Building. All those sizes are relevant and should be readable at all sizes. That's important. So I'm going to show you that with an illustrator here momentarily. The clever use of color. Color theory is complex, but designers who understand the basics are able to use color to their advantage. The basic rules to keep in mind are: use colors near to each other on the color wheel. Don't use colors that are so bright that they are hard on the eyes. The logo must look good in black and white, grayscale, and two colors. I bring that up because a lot of times when you're designing a logo for a company, you want to design a logo in black and white first. Because if you don't, and you show the client's always going to get hung up on the color first. If you show a design along full color and everything before they approve the design, they're always going to get stuck up in the color first before the actual design. So you correct the color and then they'll say, well, we don't like the shape of this. So it's almost to your client's benefit to actually design it in black and white first and then deal with colors. Colors can easily be changed. Designs can't. So breaking the rules is sometimes okay. Just make sure you have a good reason to. Design style should suit the company. You can use various design styles when creating a logo, and to pick the right one, you should have some background information about the client and the brand. You need to understand, you need to do some research to understand what the company is trying to do. That's what you are a designer or what you're hired for. Typography matters a lot. Choosing the right font type and size is much more difficult than many beginner designers realize. If your logo design includes text, either as part of the logo or in the tagline, you will need to spend time sorting through various type or font types, often dozens of them, and testing them in your design before making a final decision. Consider these 3 main points when choosing a font to accompany your logo design. Avoid the most commonly used fonts, such as Comic Sans, or else your design may come off as amateurish. A lot of fonts that are being used all the time and often come up as, well, that's an amateur designer who created those, is Comic Sans, Times New Roman, even in some cases Helvetica. All right. So try to pick fonts that are kind of like unique, never been seen before, because there are thousands of fonts out there. Don't resort to the ones that are always on your computer. There are free options out there. Make sure the font is legible when scaled down, especially with script fonts. But also you want to add in the fonts that are light, considered light fonts or ultralight. When they're scaled down, they tend to disappear, so you do not want to have like a light font for many of your logo designs. 1 font is ideal and avoid more than 2. So once you go beyond 2 and you incorporate 3 or 4 different font types, you end up being more of a ransom note. Now, if that's the look you're going for, then by all means do it. But again, we want to come off as professional more than amateurish. So you can choose 1 font, but you can go to 2. The goal is recognition. The whole point of creating a logo is to build brand recognition. All right, you know the Nike symbol. Nike symbol has gotten to this point where it just is a swoosh. It is not the actual wording that is. Nike doesn't have to be on the logo to understand what it is. And it's such a simple shape. So you have to make something that is recognizable. Designed to be different or dare to be different. To stand out from the competition, you must distinguish yourself as a designer with a distinct style. Rather than copy another design or style, be innovative and stand out from the crowd. And most of all, use the KISS method. Keep it simple. All right, simpler the logo, the more recognizable it will be. Logos don't need to be complex artwork. They can be very, very simple, but they need to be very, very clean and different and unique. Go easy on effects. Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and other graphic design programs are extremely powerful tools and have many filters and effects that you can apply to your logo. But don't get carried away. I, on the other hand, would say if you're creating a corporate identity, don't use effects at all. If you're doing an event logo that you know is very limited and only being used like for one particular event a year, sure, go ahead and use effects. All right, because it's only temporary. It's not a company's corporate brand that they're going to be using for years and years and years and years. All right, create something that's kind of simple. Effects, I would say, don't use them if you're using a corporate logo. Develop a design assembly line. To produce consistently high quality logos, you need to develop your own design process or assembly line. This should include the following steps. Research. Always do your research. Find out what the company does. What's their goal? What are their audience? Find everything you can about this particular company or client that you're working with. Brainstorm and generate ideas. Come up with preliminary sketches, whether those are simple little drawings you draw on a sketch pad to develop ideas. Develop vector designs. As I said, Illustrator is the program you're going to want to use for any kind of logo development because it's scalable. When you create a logo, it's always going to be a certain size. So you're going to want to create everything within Illustrator. Send to the client for their approval. See what they say. Give them feedback or have them give you feedback. Add or remove anything the client wants if it gets to that stage. And finalize the design and resubmit to the client if it comes down to that. Use other designs for inspiration only. The last rule for designing an effective logo is quite simple. Don't copy other designers' work. Okay, you can look for inspiration. There are books. There's a book that's called The Big Book of Logos that is very, very thick. You can look through those, but don't copy their work. It might inspire you to do something different. All right, logos that are often designed well have what are called hidden meanings, as we have done in the Facebook groups. Kind of had you point out or brought up some hidden meaning logos. All right, many logos are designed so well that they should tell a story or have a plan to them. Like Amazon. Amazon's thing is A to Z. As you can see, there is an arrow kind of pointing from A to Z. That is what they mean by that. But some people often look at that as customer satisfaction because it does look like a little bit of a smile. FedEx has a hidden arrow in it in between the E and the X. So you can kind of see it's basically saying moving forward. Now, of course, this little logo has several hidden meanings. And you can see it here. We got the cross, we got the pulpit, we got the dove, we got the fish, we got the cup, we got the fire, the book, and the Trinity. So there are several meanings within this one logo, which is a very, very powerful design. Now, many people don't know what this is, but it's a company called Vio. And if you split the logo in half, you got analog on the left side and you got binary on the right side, which are two particular languages that are used by computer systems. This one should be easy. 31 flavors for Baskin Robbins. This one's a little bit harder. Called I can't even pronounce it, but here for this one is, if you look in the mountain, you'll notice that there is a symbol of a bear in it. All right, that bear represents the story behind it is the company that develops this chocolate was founded in a city that is basically meaning the city of the bear. So this is where it is. It's in Switzerland. And that's why they included a bear in the mountain. All right. So I like to bring up this one because what I do is I talk about this one in particular because it talks about research. And this was a particular job I had gotten when I worked at an agency. Worked for a company up north that had this, what is called the South American Lounge. South American Lounge had a kind of like a bar unit inside this resort, and it was modeled after a gentleman's club on a passenger ship called the South American. Now this is old. When I say gentleman's club, it means an actual bar. And in the ship was this bar, and the bar is replicated after that. So I had to create a logo that represented it. And doing my research, I found pictures of it. I found out all the information about this vessel that is now, or at least at the time when I was researching it, in a scrapyard in Maine. And I found, like, doing more research, I found a woman in Pennsylvania who had the actual original nameplate that was on the side of the ship in her basement. She had a picture of it. And what I did was I modeled the logo, the type there, to be the exact font that was used in that particular nameplate. So what you're seeing there is actual representation of the nameplate aside from the R. What makes the logos really unique is when you take one letter form and tweak it somehow, make it a little bit different than all the rest of them. And that's what I did there. All right, so I'm going to kind of like get out of here, and I'm going to go in Illustrator, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of what we want to do here. All right, so I'm going to create a new document. I'm going to make it orientation as horizontal. So it's 11 wide by 8.5 high. I'm going to create 3 artboards for this, and I'm going to hit create. All right, so what you have is 3 artboards, which is where you create each of your logos. All right, one of the things you want to do is you're going to actually type it out. So I'm going to used book cafe. Now, it can mean anything you want. I mean, really, you can make up what you want this thing to be. I'm going to go with Playfair. This is Playfair Display. This is kind of like one of my favorite fonts that I'm using. All right, so I'm going to have this. And then I might go ahead and create like some kind of like little book or something. Now, I want you guys to spend a little bit more time on this than I am. Because, you know, you guys, well, need to. So I'm going to create these like what looks like a representation of a book. Well, that's stupid. Well, yeah, it kind of is, but I'm doing it quickly. All right, so I'm going to create this here. And then I might go ahead, create some steam. Like so. I'm going to copy and paste that here, create 2 of them here. You overlap that one, and then I might do a representation of a coffee cup. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it in front. Hold down my Alt key, so Alt and Shift key, to go ahead and bring that smaller. Select both, and I'm going to use my Pathfinder to minus front, so I create that. Maybe I'll stretch that a little bit. Bring that in. All right, so there I am. Kind of cool, kind of simple, and it's my little symbol. All right, so I'm going to group that. So I'm going to object group, Zoom out. And I want to play around with my used book cafe title. So I'm going to go type, create outlines, object, ungroup. I might select these, make that there. Might make that a little bit bigger. And I'll bring this over here. Okay, so I make that a little bit bigger. All right, I'm gonna bring this down. Now, here's what I want you guys to do. So when you create this logo, make it big like that. And I talk about in the sheet having this 6-inch diameter circle. That is a rough estimate. All right, your logos are not gonna always fit in within a 6-inch diameter circle. I just don't want you taking the logo and making it this big. All right, I want some kind of like space in between. So if I like bring it in there, that's about right. I mean, kind of fits in with a 6-inch diameter circle. That's fine. It's for display. It's just I'm leaving a lot of space between the edges to kind of give display. But I also want you to include a smaller version of it. So I'm going to go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. And I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to scale this down to be down here. So what it does is it shows the bigger one, and it shows a smaller version of it. The goal is to look at it and say, hey, can it be read at a smaller version? Oftentimes I see this. You guys, like students, actually put more emphasis on the actual picture, so they'll make it super big. And then they create this that is like really small. This is hard for me to do because like I already know that this is way too small. My psychology is actually messing with me right now. So it looks small. The problem with that, if I take this, copy and paste, and I scale this down to a smaller size, can it be read? The answer is no. All right. You want to put more emphasis on the actual wording over the actual picture. So the wording should actually be bigger than the picture itself if you're going to include a picture in it. All right. Picture should be secondary. Right? Any kind of symbols or something like that should always be secondary to the actual wording of the company. Over time, when it's branded well and stuff, you may be able to just use this symbol. But when you're starting out a corporate business, that takes time. Nike had the word Nike with the swoosh for the longest time until several years ago when they decided that it was the branding of it was on point, so they didn't need to include it anymore. But that will happen with a new company. You have to have the wording with it. All right. So when you're done with that, you can go to File, Export, Export As, and then I would say export as a JPEG, because what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and upload these to Facebook. All right, you're going to upload those, and we will have a critique on them as we post them. So, all right. So hopefully that explains a lot about this corporate identity. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. And the deadline should be in the post that we have for this. So other than that, I'll see you next time.